Hello, and welcome back to the Triangle Business Podcast. And I am one of your co-stars, Joey Nattel, followed by.
The other co-star, Scott Moore.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about follow through and follow up, mostly in business, but also how it relates to life in general. We were on a discussion about this. What came up about this was about sales calls and what's the process, because there's a lot of people out there in business where it says like, I was given some advice by mentors saying like, oh, it's the 10 times rule. Follow up one to two, let's see, either minimum 1 week, maximum 2 weeks, once for 10 times, and then stop. I think that's a bit much, but it may not be in your industry. So that's where we kind of landed. And then Scott had a different take on that. So I'll just throw it to you.
Well, on this very specific thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to make a distinction between marketing and sales. Like, how many marketing touches? I think the industry is like, people don't respond until the seventh touch or whatever, and it may
Oh,
take.
it's higher than that now, but yeah.
Is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's
Right.
like double almost. Don't quote me on that,
But
but yeah.
but marketing is not sales.
Right.
Like, marketing leads to sales. But if I have a sales call with somebody, you know, like we have the sales call, I want to get to a yes or a no by the end of the sales call. And this was part of our conversation. I feel like I should not leave this out. During a sales call, the client is determining whether they want to work with us,
Hmm.
and we are determining whether we want to work with the client. This isn't about like our coaching industry. This should be about every industry. Like, if they're not appropriate to work with you, figuring that out on the sales call is a much better time to figure it out than after you're deeper into an onboarding. I mean, like, if you're a pest control service, right? Where do they live? Are they in
Yes.
your service area?
Yeah.
You know, that, that if they spend 15 minutes telling you about their roaches and then they're 5 counties over and you don't go there, well, then, you know, we should go out right away to what's the address. And so, whatever those criteria are for determining if they're a good client, like, you should be clear on them and determining that during the call.
Mhm.
But you get to the end of the call and we're like, so are we doing this or not?
Yeah.
And in my experience, there's three answers. There's
Yes.
yes, which is a good answer. There's no, which is a good answer, and there's maybe, which is a crappy answer.
Yes.
And so now what do I do with a maybe? When will you know?
Hmm.
What questions have I not answered that would allow you to know? And
Hmm.
if you like, I need to talk to my spouse about it. Fine, that's probably a good idea. When is that conversation going to happen?
Hmm.
When should I follow up with you? I do not settle for I'll let you know or I'll get back with you. Don't worry about it. I'm no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Request declined. Like, you let me know a date by which you will follow up with me. And if I don't hear from you, I will follow up with you. Because I'm running my life and my schedule over here, and me not knowing is not does not support me having my life happen the way I want it to.
Yeah. That I completely agree. And I like one of the other things that you mentioned I want to share is that you gave me this great analogy of like, let's say you're going to ask a girl on a date and you're like, hey, would you like to grab coffee? She says, yeah, cool. And you get their number, you text them, and they don't answer. And you message them again, and they don't answer. So I think the advice you gave me was at least two, maybe no more than three times, but ideally like two follow-ups. And you kind of apply it to more your practice, if I said that correctly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I haven't been on a first date in a long time, so don't follow my dating advice, right?
Yes.
But I actually, it's been a minute, but I think my question was, how many times would you follow up? Like, if you were you, how many times
Right.
would you follow up? Not a this is how many times you should follow up, but
Right.
like, and I think you told me like probably twice.
Right.
And I'm
No
like,
more
well,
than
then,
three. Yeah.
and why is that? Why would you not follow up more than twice?
Well, for me, that would feeling like desperate or needy is a emotion that comes to mind. And also like this person really isn't interested. Because if they were, they would have gotten back to me.
Yeah, probably,
Yeah. Yeah.
or their phone fell to the bottom of a lake and they're getting it replaced or whatever, right? But those
Which
are
just
kind
happened
of
to me.
corner
Well,
cases. Yeah.
something like that.
I walked into a hot tub with mine one time. That was
Sounds like a story.
I still get emails from the Verizon store in Hilton Head, South Carolina, because that's where I went to have to replace my phone that weekend. But um, no, one of my favorite stories about this is from Nick Offerman's biography. It's called Paddle Your Own Canoe.
Oh.
Nick Offerman is a an actor mostly known for comedy roles. He was on Parks and Recreation.
Mhm.
He's Ron Swanson. I'm not going to try to
Oh
turn
yeah.
my camera around right now, but I have a poster of Ron Swanson's Pyramid of Greatness above my
Yes.
desk, which is it's a funny thing, and I love it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Nick Offerman, he moved from Chicago to LA to become an actor. I mean, he already was an actor, and he moved out to LA because that's what you do to get parts in TV shows and movies and stuff. But Nick Offerman is a really accomplished woodworker. And so he started building furniture for people in LA,
Mhm.
some expensive pieces of furniture. But he wanted to be an actor, and when he would go to auditions, like he's like, I'm here for the audition and I'm going to do my best, but I got a table to build. So I'm not going to hang out here all afternoon desperately hoping.
Yeah.
Like I got work to do. And so I'm just going to show up. I'm going to do the thing. They're going to like it or not like it, or they're going to call me back or they're not going to call me back. But I got a table to build.
Mhm.
And somebody with a table to build isn't calling them 8 times. Did I get
Yeah.
the part? If they follow up, like I just wanted to check in and see if you've made a decision about that one. Maybe a couple, maybe Nick Offerman is like you in the dating world. I mean, he's married to Megan Mullally, who's kind of a hottie. So, um, I would trust his dating advice. But yeah, like successful people have a lot of shit going on.
Yes.
And so if you have time to keep calling and calling and calling or checking in or emailing somebody, it feels like you don't have a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just like, and I do have a lot of shit going on. I would humbly suggest most of us do. And so act like you have other things to attend to and don't be chasing.
Yes, I agree. And this reminds me of when I was younger, teenager, early 20s, and I was reading a lot of books on confidence and dating because that was what sparked my desire to learn about confidence and communication skills was I want to learn how to talk to girls more. And I always say like, oh, when you get their number, don't text them for 3 days, kind of thing. And now it's like a meme, and a lot of them know this. I don't know if it was more common knowledge before 20 years ago, but um, they know if you're doing that now. But at the time, it was like, well, you don't want to come off too needy or desperate. And it was all these like this advice it would give like young men, young people, I should say, who are pursuing ladies, and of like, well, don't do this, don't do that, because you need to come off as like someone who has high value or all sorts of things like that. And I tried to play that game and wasn't working for me. So I just like I don't care. I'm just gonna text you what I want. And what I found as I grew and matured and had more hobbies and activities is I'm just naturally going to be more busy with things in my
Yeah.
life. And so this is very true, I think, and just life is like don't pretend you're busier than you are kind of thing. I had somebody who made a comment to me, a client where we rescheduled a client call and she looked at my availability and it was pretty open that month because I just hadn't had to put a lot of things on the calendar. She said, "Wow, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Why don't you have a lot of availability?" Now, what she doesn't know is that my availability at the time for this particular type of link was between 11 to 6. And there were a few days where it was more open, but I had so many things I was doing after 6 o'clock. So it was an
Sure.
interesting assumption. And that's kind of the busy work culture. If you're not busy, then you're lazy, which I do not prescribe to in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. So, um, that'll come. And if you want to either perceive or be more confident or like have more things going on, go find a hobby. Maybe get up to something that you enjoy doing naturally. And I really like what you said about the Ron Swanson thing. She's hilarious. It's like, I feel like that's also true in business. And that makes me think about kind of my own journeys and beginnings of entrepreneurship of like, oh my gosh, I got a sales call. Oh my God, this could change my life. That money, I need that so bad, which maybe that's a certain true if you're not making a lot. And also, if you're doing projects or other activities that are making you money to get you out of that scarcity mindset,
Yeah.
well, one, you're just naturally going to show up more confident, more cool as a cucumber on the call anyway, versus like, I really need this call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really hope they like me a lot. Well, hope they like me on the date, hope they like me on the sales call. Because I really need this, even if they're not a good fit or not. So on that note, a question that comes to mind is I know this is certainly true for consulting, coaching, mentoring. I don't know about teaching, but probably. Where do you feel that, and acting, obviously, where do you feel like that need or desperation might show up and could potentially affect other industries more than others? Or do you think it's more all business in a lot of ways?
It's a good question. I I don't want to cop out and not answer the question. Like I think it shows up as scarcity
Mhm.
if you have a scarcity mindset. And I think some people try to compartmentalize this. We know people who are much, much smarter about this. We should have like Danny Mulcahy or Chris Delgado or somebody on here to talk about scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset sometimes because they wrote a book about it. They're great. Um,
Okay. Cool.
but for me, in this moment, I'm like, I think people try to compartmentalize, like, well, I have scarcity around money.
Yes.
And I'm like, or maybe, or do you just have scarcity in your life right now? And I say this jokingly. I got this phrase from Danielle Laporte, and I've used it ever since. But like, if I was a phone, I'd be ringing all the time. And what I mean by that is like, man, like I am just up to stuff of every hour of every day. And sometimes the stuff I'm up to is playing computer games and taking a nap, and sometimes it's working with clients, and sometimes it's traveling, and sometimes it's spending time with my daughter or my wife.
Mhm.
But I'm up to something all the time. And so I have this it's not scarcity in that there's no time to do the things I want. I have this abundance mindset like I'm always doing what I want to be doing.
Mhm.
And I do think that it can be really hard as a business owner, I mean, if you'll slide into that scarcity because money, because you don't have enough clients, because you don't have enough work right now, because you don't have enough something, maybe you don't have enough support from the people close around you, could even be people who work for you, and they just don't get what it's like to be trying to generate the business and get it all in the door. And when you feel unsupported or scarcity, I don't think it's very easy to put it down and get on a sales call.
Yes.
I think people will fake it, and some people are good enough actors to pull it off, and some
Yes.
people, I would submit to you, most people are not.
Fake it till you make it is great advice, but not for everybody.
I mean, I wouldn't vulnerability dump on a prospect and be like,
No,
hey,
no.
like, I want to let you know at the start of this sales call that I'm in a pretty tough financial spot and I'm really going to try to win your business here. But, like, whoa, 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 you know, floodlighting much
Oh man.
where they, you don't have a right and they haven't earned the right to your vulnerability either.
Yeah.
So don't do that. But also, like, sometimes you got to clean it off. Like, you know, Wonder Woman stance, like
Yes.
get big, but like spread your body out so
Yeah.
that you're taking up space. Does it work? Is it real neuroscience? I don't know. It may be magic,
Yeah.
but if it works, you know,
It
um,
does. And I'll expand on that and I'll come back to another scarcity mindset question is change your body, change your mind, change your environment. When you're at it, when you're in a scarcity mindset, you're in stress and like that, like change your body. Wonder Woman pose is good because it takes up more expansive. So what we know about studies about that is I would argue it is true. Maybe the specific Wonder Woman stance not necessarily is or isn't, but when you're moving your body, that's much more, we have more evidence on that. So
mhm,
like that's why exercise is such an important thing or movement, who people don't like that word. So when you're stressed, leave the room, go move your body, which will naturally change the thoughts too and what you focus on. So wanted to mention that. But on that note of scarcity, I had a colleague of mine recently say to me, like, we're talking about scarcity in terms of money and practice. And they said, I have a wait list of clients and I still have a scarcity mindset. I
hmm,
was like, really?
interesting.
And so what that made me think about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts once I share a little more, is that so there's this concept, a modality called positive intelligence. It's a great book. Check it out. It talks about like the things in our mind called saboteurs, and the main one is called the judge. All the saboteurs of henchman. I won't go into detail about that. Check it out. But the main concept is like you have this judge inside of you. It judges you, judges the environment, judges the situation all the dang time. It's never going to go away, ever. However, you, if you so choose, get stronger at learning to turn the dial down. Now, lack of sleep, being hungry, turns that dial back up. But it more, when you work on it, it permanently kind of turns it down. And what came to mind about this individual's experience was like, huh, I wonder if entrepreneurship is kind of a similar thing in terms of scarcity mindset or sometimes that lack mindset. Is that a
Mhm.
permanent dial there that we get better at turning it down? Obviously, when we have more abundance, it's really down. We don't, it goes up. But even when you have more money, just the like the, my experience with a corporate is I knew exactly how much I was going to make every month. I didn't have to think about it. And now I don't. So I was curious to throw that at you. Like, has that been your experience with your clients or your own experience? Or is that
Wait,
a
are we
person to
talking
person
about
kind of thing?
the inner judgment?
What I meant is to give that an example, an analogy of like the scarcity mindset the fear of lack of clients or lack of money, would you say that's kind of a permanently there and just gets learned to turn down, like as you choose to do your inner work and your judgmental thoughts? That was the analogy that came to mind.
I think that there are moments that are just going to permanently scar us. I mean, I've told my story before about, the day I had $74 in my checking account. I've told that publicly in a number of places, and like, I'm, it's never going to go away. Sorry, you were going to say something.
I don't think you've shared that here, though.
Okay. I don't want to give it, I don't want to rush through it, but just for context, right? Like, it's the winter of 2015.
Sure.
Um, I'm going to meet my girlfriend's parents for the first time up in Asheville. And we stopped to get gas in Siler City. And I knew when I left the house that morning, I had $74 in my checking account. And I'm watching the numbers tick up on the gas pump, right? And this isn't coming, I'm putting this on a credit card. So it's not coming out of the
Right.
$74.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's half of what I have now.
Yeah.
And that was like, no, it wasn't, because I literally had negative net worth at the time. I had debt. I didn't have $74.
Yeah.
And I also had some other assets. Like I had some small retirement accounts that I hadn't completely tapped out at that point or whatever. But I'm just like, psychologically, that those two numbers, the $74 and the 35 or whatever dollars I just spent on gas, being like, that's half. And I'm like, I remember it like it was yesterday. If I drove there today, I could tell you which gas pump I was standing at. And then I had a prospect call, a sales call, like
Mhm.
the next day while I was away. And I told myself, I was like, I cannot drag that scarcity into this call. I will get a bad client, or I will be a bad coach for that client if I drag that scarcity into this.
Right.
And so uh I just like kind of cleaned it off, and I, got real present about doing my sales process, and I did my sales process, and she became a client. And also I had several other clients at the time, right? And like 2 days later, money came in from one of my regular clients, like, but it's a scar. It's not going away. And also 11 years later, I'm in very much better shape.
Yes.
The evidence is that I do not need to be worried about money. Like, I don't want to lose all my clients.
Of course.
I've never lost all my clients. I'm not worried about that happening really. But even if it did, I got a lot of money saved up at this point, you know. So
That's true.
I mean, the thing you mentioned about the judge, though, I really think that's real. And my I have some stuff in my life like that, and righteousness, which is,
Hmm.
I think, maybe lives in the same building as the judge.
Oh,
Um,
yes. I would.
um, and,
Yes.
and my take on those things is that, like, they don't need to run my life, and they're not going away. So how can, if they're going to be around, can I make use of them?
Right.
So with the judge thing, I think what comes up for me, and I think it's really relevant to this topic that we're coming at about follow up and follow through.
Yes.
Like, according to what? Like, the judge is judging me, my judge in
Yeah.
my head is judging me according to what? Like, I used to work in the legal system,
Hmm.
and so like laws matter.
Hmm.
Well, I like to think they matter. Um,
Yes.
um, they matter to me.
Yes.
So what are the laws by which I'm judging myself? And to me, I view that as like um goes hand in hand with like the principles by which I live my life. I
Mhm.
think in a second I'd be curious to know if you're clear on what principles you live your life by, but I'll if you don't have a ready answer, that's fine. I'm not springing that on you,
Yeah.
but like mine are really simple. I came up with this years ago. It's three things. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm on time, and I'm not in a rush. If you want to know which of those gets compromised most of the time, it's the not in a rush one, right?
Yeah.
Um, but if I say to a client, excuse me, a prospect, we're talking about follow up and follow through, right?
Mhm.
If I say to a sales prospect, uh, when are we going to know whether we're moving forward or not? And if they
Mhm.
say Tuesday, I'll be like, cool, I'm putting it on my calendar. If I haven't heard from you by close of business on Tuesday, I'll send you an email to prompt you so that we can answer this question. If Tuesday rolls around and they've told me, cool, I'll take that off my calendar. If Tuesday rolls around and they haven't told me, I have it on my calendar. I do the thing that I said I was going to do when I said I was going to do it. And I've already ticked two of my three principles boxes, right? So the judge is like, you know, innocent, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I followed the law.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and I think we spend a lot of time. How much should I? What's it going to seem like if I call this person like I am as bad or worse at anybody at judging myself about those things. So what I did was I came up with a system whereby like I just told you what I was going to do and I put it on my calendar and I did it when I said I was going to, or I didn't
Mhm.
because I'm not perfect. And if I didn't and I go, oh, bad Scott, you know, the judge, guilty, right? Yeah, okay, cool. And guilt is productive because it makes me go, I won't do that again. What happened? Like, what caused me to get off of my process?
Yes, that's true.
So, as I hear these words coming out of my mouth, I just think it's hilarious because I spent two-thirds of my life thinking of myself as somebody who was undisciplined, not particularly wanting to follow the rules. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I can't get away from me.
No.
So if I'll follow my own rules or the rules that I've given my word to, I'm cool about rules.
Mhm.
When people thrust other rules on me that I did not agree to, I get super shitty real fast. But anyway, sorry. It's just
That's
for
good.
me that solves the problem a
Yes.
lot.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, do you have your principles by which you live your life?
I'm gonna have to put some more thought into that. And I think that'll be a
Okay.
whole episode in general to talk about. Being kind, don't be a dick, is what comes to
Okay.
mind. That's the
That's a good
number
one.
one thing for me. Like, uh, listen, always be myself. Yeah, I think about the leadership training, a trusting, authentic, present leader. So that is probably like be trustworthy, be yourself, and be present. I think those are what off the cusp answers come to mind because I
Sure.
haven't really put a whole lot of thought into like what are my principles kind of thing. The other thing I want to mention is to expand the realm of follow through and follow, which we've already kind of talked about here, is I think a lot of people are afraid of what others are going to think of them. Now
Afraid of what
that may
others are going to
be,
think of them.
yeah, that may be
Yeah.
more of the marketing piece that you mentioned versus the sales, like reaching out like, hey, I got this event going on. Do you want to go? Kind of thing. So that may be more that realm. Um, but follow through, follow through is something that you can have more control of. You can are more control of did you follow through or not? will arguably say is follow up. But you can't always control that with others follow up with you. Well, I guess you could say the same thing. Not everybody will follow through as well, so never mind. Yeah. So I guess both in a lot of ways you're in your control of how you live your life and
Well,
run your
yeah.
business and also run your life in a lot of ways.
Well,
So,
it's like this thing that we were talking about, where if you're like, my process is, we have a sales call. Ideally, we get to a yes or a no, and we
mhm,
move forward. Again, I think any business can and should do have a system for this. If the answer is maybe, how many follow-ups? By when? And then you do those things. And like, if I've received no response from somebody, my final follow-up usually says, I haven't heard from you, and uh, I would still like to get to an answer, but this will be the last time you hear from me.
yeah,
Now, remember what I told you my principles were. Do what I say I'm going to do. I'm not going to contact them again, because if I do, I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
yeah, yeah.
Like, this is the end of it. That's a good, like, if they're not responding, I, I'm going to declare an end to it, because it won't be good for my life if this loop is left open.
Mhm.
Like, close the sale. It's
Yeah,
closed.
yes. And you get to control that. Whereas I think a lot of
Yeah.
people feel like I need them to control, which kind of gives their power away. So on that note, we'll land the plane here and I'll land it with a question. I'll throw it to you. If somebody wanted to increase their follow through and follow up in their business, but also their life, I'll expand it there too. What would be a piece of advice you would give them in order to level that up, even if it's just like a percentage, a small percentage versus
Um, get super clear on your intention. Like if your intention is to get an answer,
major?
then do what you must to get an answer,
Yeah.
and also allow yourself to create an answer. Like, I've texted her 4 times. She hasn't texted me back.
Yeah.
I'm going to delete that contact from my phone.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an
Yeah.
answer. Um, yeah, like, if what you want is to create uh an open-ended possibility, put them on your email list.
Mm.
Now, there are people who would say it's a dick move to put somebody on their email list when they didn't agree to that. Okay, it's a dick move for them not to respond to my emails too.
Fair.
And this is not a quid pro quo thing. It's just like, I am a big fan, by the way. If they're a no, then place them back in orbit.
Mm.
I used to run Triangle Business Breakfast. I would see people. Sometimes somebody would say, I'd like to talk to you about coaching. you know, is this a sales meeting? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's have a sales meeting. We'd have a sales meeting. They're like, I don't think this is for me. I can't afford it right now, whatever. And I'll be like, cool. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
I'll be here again. I hope you'll be here again. I'll see you around. And sometimes they would just come back around on the merry-go-round, and we would, you know what? I've rethought it. I think this actually is something I want to do. Like, we
Yeah.
don't have to sever contact with the person forever. You don't have to delete the contact from your phone if you don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
But that's if you got a no.
Hmm.
No is a second best answer you can get on a sales call.
Yes, it is.
So anyway, I'm probably just talking past the point here, but
No, I love it. This is good,
I
all good stuff.
that my advice would be, get clear on your intention,
Hmm.
and then use mechanisms that would create what you intend.
Well said. Throwing it back to me, if somebody came to me and asked, how can I increase my follow through and follow up? What comes to mind is be a person of your word, which we've learned together in some of the trainings we've taken. And I wouldn't start with somebody being, I wouldn't start with somebody jumping in to be like, always be on time. Because transparently, that is something I struggle with a lot.
Sure.
However, what is more doable, I think, is saying what you mean. Like, and to give an example of this, like somebody who makes jokes at other people's expenses is not what you say is you don't mean that. Or maybe you do. That's another conversation entirely. But like if you think you're joking, which you actually aren't, which is another conversation, that's not what you mean. So, hey, I really like your shoes. If you don't say it. So that I think that might be a bigger picture, which is like kind of being aligned with who you are. If you're going to say it, like mean it.
Sure.
So, which is essentially the principle you said of like, if you're going to say you're going to do something, then do it. And what we've learned and what we know is whose commitments we break the most is ourselves. So, learning how to commit, to summarize this, if you're going to make a commitment to somebody, like do very small commitments and practice there. Hey, I'll pick up a card for grandma to get well. Like little things like that. Or like, I'm going to make a commitment to buy my friend, romantic lover flowers once in a while and then do that. Little things like that. Because one, it makes you think outside of yourself and to others. I think it's easier to practice on follow through and commitments to others than it is to ourselves. But with that practice of following through on others, we can commit naturally more to ourselves easier.
Yeah. No, I think that is powerful to realize that um, by making commitments to other people, we're also committing to ourselves.
We are. Yeah.
And there's also like a kind of a negative space issue there that kind of goes back to, that person looking at your schedule and being like, well, if you're only committed to these times, then what else are you committed to? And like, whatever I want,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, I think there's probably more to talk about on this topic of follow through because I do think, again, this has been very philosophical and there are systems that we can discuss about, but this is what CRMs do for us,
Right.
right? You know, tag this person to send them a birthday card or
Hmm.
send them a holiday card or follow up with them a year from now. Like
Hmm.
these are tags you can set up in CRMs. And
Yes.
um, that, but again, that is in the realm of marketing. And I
Yes.
think for today's conversation, like knowing when to say when, if you've got an unclosed loop,
Yeah.
is I think it's incredibly important because we're busy.
Yeah.
And if
And
I'm
this is
relying on my
also,
brain to remember it, I'm screwed.
yes, because we get decision fatigue,
Yeah.
no matter if you're neurotypical, neurospicy. And also, you are learning the art and the practice of making decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
It is challenging. It is not easy. It is a skill to learn how to do, learning to be decisive.
Yep. That ain't that the truth.
Yes, very true. Well, I think
Yeah.
that
Good
wraps up
one.
this
Good
episode
one.
for sure.
Juicy today.
Yes. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you hear, give us a follow, subscribe, whatever. Give us a comment and tell us what you like. Tell us which one to hear more of. We look forward to giving you more content. Till next time, goodbye.
Adios.